Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and with me today I have Melony Weber of Touchstone Youth Resource Services in Middle Tennessee, and Shor Denny of Community Now here in the Inland Empire, Southern California. And this is the 3 C's of SEL: collaboration, community, and communication. And we're talking about schools today. Schools are opening around the country. We're fortunate enough to have two very dynamic communities that are now experiencing this from a social emotional learning perspective. We're going to find out what our youth are thinking, and equally important, what the adults are thinking. And in this case, we will include administrators and lawmakers as adults. But before I get into more trouble, Mel, welcome to the 3 C's once again. So
Thank you. I'm so happy to be back. I love this time.
Fantastic. Well, Shor, I'm going to give you the first question because even though Mel is our guest, we're going to start with you because I have that power. What are we doing here in the Inland Empire in terms of school starting? What does that just look like?
Man, there are a couple of variations. Some schools, school starts next week. So our kids will be doing something. Some will be online, some will be doing hybrids. The hybrid that I've heard of mostly is that they're going to split the student body in half, have half come one day and half come the other, and I think they're off on Fridays. That is kind of what they're doing. The schools are just gearing up with Chromebooks, making sure our kids have connectivity, and trying to start this year out.
Outstanding. So, just any old year, evidently. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. Now, what about you guys? What are you doing to get school launched?
Here in Davidson County, which is where Nashville, Tennessee is located, everything actually started yesterday, and all students will be online. That there were a lot of bumps in the road, I understand. Our district has ponied up and made sure that any student who didn't have a laptop at home were able to pick up a laptop and a hotspot. Because even if you have the laptop, you don't have the Wi-Fi, the connectivity, like Shor was saying. And so all the parents I talked to, it was kind of bumpy because IT problems popped up. But I'm seeing some good possibilities come from that. But let me just say that in the surrounding counties in Middle Tennessee, and even in the whole Southeast, there are different variations. There are some schools are starting back in person right away. And I was really impressed. There was a group in a county adjacent to Davidson County, there was in July, the school board, the adults, the people who are supposed to be the adults, voted no mask would be required. Okay, now in Tennessee, the governor said it's up to each individual county, which then leaves it up to each individual school district. We're in Davidson County, which is one of the COVID-19 hotspots, because believe it or not, tourists have been pouring in all summer, and we kind of want them to go away because we keep seeing our numbers spike. You know, people are coming in from out of town and either bringing it with them, or that will be one more souvenir that they take home with them when they leave Nashville. So, and I was telling Glenn before this that, you know, viruses don't seem to have any regard for a county line. It's not like it's going to stay on that county. So everything's kind of being spread around. But the school board voted no mask would be required. Guess what? This is a high school. The students push back. They petitioned the school board to require masks. And thankfully, and at first, I just heard on the news this morning, the school is reversing their decision. So now
did that.
The students did that. The students value. And I think, you know, with any SEL work, self-advocacy is such a great attribute. So the students, you know, they were advocating for their own safety and health in that regard, and they won. The school board reversed it. I think the only exceptions are for the very youngest children. But in some counties, they're K through second grade or in person immediately, and the other third grade through 12th will be online. There's been a variation of the hybrid that you mentioned, Shor, where half the students will come one day, half will come another day. And then there's some schools in the Southeast, like in Georgia, they just Katie bar the door, everybody in, no mask required. And in one county in the Atlanta vicinity, it's a suburb of Atlanta called Gwinnett County, there were 260 teachers that either tested positive for COVID or were exposed. And so I don't understand that. So that's the trends in the Southeast. There's a lot of online, at least for the beginning. I've noticed that even at this late in the game, that they announced a plan and now they're changing their plan. Even the colleges and universities. One of our local universities, Belmont University, had already said business is normal, students move in August. Just today, and I think the college students are supposed to be moving in next week. They said, okay, change of plans, not till September. So we'll start online in August and then you can move in September. And who knows if that's going to happen.
Yeah, my daughter's school, they're online this year. If she were going to go back, she's not. She was in New York and at Pratt Institute when all this started, and they sent her home. And she's not going to go back. They're not opening their dorms anytime soon. And, you know, it's kind of career stopping. Just, you know, it's put your adulthood on hold moment right now, you know, because there are a lot of things that our youth cannot do right now, you know, especially with the colleges. But back to what you were saying about, you know, all of the different variances and things that are going on. I think that's everywhere, right? We have different counties that are really high in their outbreak, I'll call it, you know, and then you have some counties that are low. LA County they're really suffering, you know, and they're going to be online for a long time. I truthfully don't see us coming off of online this year. And I'm not just saying this calendar year. I'd be surprised if our kids are back in school in May. You know, people talk about a vaccine. I'm very worried about a vaccine. I would wonder how many people are actually going to get that vaccine, right? Especially in the beginning. I'm going to sit back and wait. I want to see what's going to happen to the people that take it, right? I'm very cynical at the moment, you know, and the way that the powers that be, I guess we can call them, want to get us back to everything being normal. I just still question that maybe the first vaccine that comes out is out there just to get us moving. It might not be that effective.
And are we going to sacrifice our kids for this experiment, basically? That's all you can call it.
Exactly.
So we have a lot of moving parts. We have the medical part, we have the technological part, and somewhere along the line, they're going to actually do some reading, writing, and arithmetic.
We hope.
Maybe.
But to your point, Mel, you talked about how different counties have the autonomy, but are they marching in lockstep with that autonomy?
Not at all. I mean, I think a lot of county managers, and it's called different things in different counties, you know, they're thinking about their constituents. These are elected officials who, you know, they're worried about, you know, keeping their people happy. Some of it, you know, I think there's science that we have to look at that's being ignored because of the economic factors. You know, they're worried about, you know, people losing jobs, which makes sense. And so, no, counties around here, it's every county for itself, basically.
And I know here on the West Coast, most of us, I'm not going to say all of us, and I'm really leaving out Arizona, right, when I'm saying this, but we're kind of looking towards public health more than anything. You know, masks are mandated. You know, most businesses are shut down. Food restaurants, if you have outside seating, you know, you can go and eat there, and it's we have distancing, you know, in place. I think off and on. The rules change so quickly that I believe we might still be in a mandated mask, like if there's a fine if we don't wear it outside type of a situation, which can translate into a safer environment for our youth, right? I mean, if you're looking at it that way and looking at the school campus, theoretically, we are conditioning our people to wear masks. Our kids should be wearing masks at school. The teachers, we've got all of this distancing stuff in place. So if you look at it on paper, our kids should be able to go back to school. I think the problem is that with all of the plans that have been made and all of the ways that they're trying to get us to get out of our houses right now, that they leave out the social emotional part of it. They leave out the human factor.
I think that's an important point for us to drill down on, the human factor, the trauma that's associated with it. In the previous podcast, we were talking about the issues that teachers are having, where a lot of them are parents as well as teachers, and they're having to juggle those two responsibilities that typically they're very passionate about. So when you start thinking about just the emotional component, what are your folks out in Middle Tennessee telling you, Melony, how are they coping with the uncertainty and, frankly, a pandemic that is killing people?
It's interesting because back in the spring when everything had to shut down so quickly and with no real plan, I mean, because basically whatever was left of school really didn't count.
Right.
There wasn't any intentional teaching and learning going on. It was just, they were trying to just wrap it up. I heard a speaker here in Middle Tennessee, and it was on a national platform, but she was involved in an organization that primarily serves pretty affluent families. And she was talking about how the feedback she was getting was kids are feeling so much more at peace and secure, and it was such a positive thing. And most of the kids that we serve in our public schools don't have that kind of affluence and security, and it's scary. And sadly, one big concern is things that might be going on at home along the lines of abuse or neglect that won't get reported because there's nobody that can catch it. A teacher, a counselor, somebody in public, could know, could see the signs of something going on that needed to be dealt with. And so the feedback I got from most of the students we serve was a lot more anxiety. And I was almost not offended, but I was kind of bothered by just, oh, everything's great. Everything's fine. And, but interesting thing has happened since even yesterday, a lot of things I've seen where some of the young people, I've been doing this a long time, Glenn, I hate to tell you, but some of the young people have become, that I knew as high school kids, have become parents. And it has been so wonderful to see them engaged in their kids' education. Now, it's really put a strain on their working because they're having to work from home or get other things kind of juggled around to be there. But the kids are starting to really enjoy it. And I've never seen parents so engaged with what their kids were doing as far as school. And I thought, well, maybe something good could come from this in that regard. I will say this, that really this first week of school in at least in Davidson County in Nashville, there's not real classwork going on. They're devoting it to SEL, social emotional learning. And I got a text from a mom friend, and her son is in middle school, and we serve primarily high school students. But he was complaining about, I hate SEL. I can't believe we have to spend the whole first week of school. And so his mom just told him, it's like, you say that again, and I'm going to tell Miss Melony you said that. And then he said, well, I'd probably like it if she did it because it would be fun. But the district is I don't know exactly. I told him today, we had a phone conversation last night. I said, today, take good notes on all the SEL stuff you have to do. 2 reasons. I wanted him to kind of engage. Maybe there's something good in it. And second, I wanted to know what are they doing if it's not working, how we could actually provide something that would be better. Which he said he would do for us. But at least some efforts are being made, because I think a lot of times school districts will say, you know, SEL is part of our program or our school life, but it's mostly on paper and not really there. So so even though they're taking attendance this week online, most of the work they're doing is along the lines of social and emotional learning, maybe just to assess, you know, kind of a kid's emotional state after being away from their friends and teachers for so long.
I think, oh, go ahead.
Oh, please, Shor. Yes.
I think that it would be a way to gauge what to do, how to do it, you know, for the teachers to get kind of used to the new environment, teachers and the kids. I know that a benefit that's come from it is that our company has been seeing a lot more activity and a lot more attention is being paid to the social and emotional component in the schools. Way more than 6 months ago. I mean, that we have these opportunities coming. There is a new challenge for us, and that is virtuality. How do we virtualize our programs? Because our districts aren't allowing anyone on campus. So, except for the youth when they allow them to come back. So it's now up to us, community-based organizations, to figure out how we're going to make this a new environment for them where we can, you know, give them the support that we've been giving them all these years.